technically the first episode of the DC Comics Chronicles. I'm your host, Adam, and with me is my co-host, Donnie. Donnie, what's going on?
What's up, DC fans? It's the action figure aficionado, the podcasting machine, the big nerd in green. It's the Emerald Enthusiast.
Oh, that's a very good self-description. That should be your Twitter bio. The reason I say sort of the first episode, because we're doing a little bit of a rebranding. As you know, Steven, myself, and Donnie would engage in Comics Corner episodes on YouTube, and we do at least one a week. But we're going to take a different tact going forward. Instead of giving you weekly updates, we're going to do a monthly episode, or maybe every 2 months, depending on what books are out and how things are going. But we may reconvene before the end of Future State if need be. But the plan is once a month, and our intention is to cover the books that comprise the main members of the Justice League. So what that means, in terms of what I mean by that, is the current books featuring the main members of the Justice League. Because as you know, Donnie and I talk about older issues of The Flash on the Flash with Two Mics, and older issues of the Green Lantern on Emerald Echo, Green Lantern podcast.
Available on iTunes and Podbean.
Thank you, Donnie. And that's going to continue. Those shows aren't going away. We're just adding to the pile. That's what we're doing. Because we love bringing you content, and I love flicking my pen with another announcement of a Multiverse Live every month or week or whatever. So we're going to continue. It's just adding content. But while those shows deal with the past, we're going to talk to you about current books on this particular monthly show. So the books that we're thinking of covering specifically are Batman, Detective, Superman Action, Superman Batman, Justice League, Green Lantern, Flash, and if Donnie wants to dabble in some Wonder Woman, we'll touch on some Wonder Woman too. So we'll see how that goes. Which Wonder? There's a lot of Wonder Woman. There's a couple of Wonder Woman titles. Mm-hmm. So we'll pick the main one. But that's the plan. And we're going to have fun with that. So I think, and I think you will too. You guys will hopefully enjoy it, and it'll keep you abreast on what's going on with the current books, and we'll give you our thoughts on each. It'll be nice to hear Donnie covering Batman, because we don't hear much Batman talk from Donnie, aside from when we did our Justice League commentary, which you will hear
very soon. That was fun.
In March, and that's a theatrical Justice League. So Donnie, this is going to be a fun change, fun alteration, but it's going to be fun to do with you as we go through our comics, and encourage people to support the comic industry, either physically or via Comixology. Whichever.
I'm looking forward to it. I never get enough comics, never get enough talking about comics. So.
Right, and your nickname for Batman, since you're going to be covering him?
Spooky.
Yeah, all right, so cool. I just want to get that out.
By the way, I love Batman, but it's a Green Lantern tradition to mess with Batman, so I figure I needed to do that too. So
yeah, you got to uphold. Just listen, and I'm glad that he's far away, because as the Batman representative, he can't punch me in the face being the Green Lantern representative, so it's good.
I'll just send a construct your way through the microphone.
There you go. That's it. I'll block it with. Do I have a yellow pencil here? Yeah, I got one. We're good. I can but all right, so let's get right into it, and let's start by saying, Donnie, aside from what we're going to cover today, what are you reading?
I am recently read Black Panther, King in Black. This is a one-shot, actually by Jeffrey Thorne, who is, of course, writing Green Lantern. upcoming writing Green Lantern. He's writing part of Future State right now.
Yeah.
And I went back and filled in an old hole with Green Lantern, and that's Volume 2, number 196.
You mean you don't have every Green Lantern comic in existence, Donnie?
I have them printed somehow, some way, just about every one. But as far as ones that are, especially from like the Silver Age and Golden Age, you're talking about really expensive comics.
Yeah, you'd have to sell your entire room to get a couple of those issues.
Like, and I've got these on tap for later. I got Green Lantern, the Green Lantern number 11, and Far Sector number 10. So,
indeed, and I will be catching up on both of those digitally very soon. But in terms of what I've been reading, aside from what we've been reviewing, what we're reviewing here today, from DC. All right, I'll pull this off because I'm not a hater, so I'll pull this off. See this, Donnie?
Yeah. Okay.
Batman, Catwoman, number 2. Steven and I think, reviewed this, but I want to.
Is that from the first kiss to the last?
Well, one of my former co-hosts will tell you that, and he took that piece of dialogue from one of Tom King's Batman books, which this is also written by Tom King. But there's a reason why he's no longer here. And that's excessive use of that tagline. But anyway, but no, I've given both issues a good review, as you can see by watching the Old Comics Corner on YouTube. But I just want to bring it up because I want to show that even on a writer whose material I've been hard on in the past, when they write something I like, I'm more than happy to give credit where credit is due. And the art, by the way, the art in that series by Clay Mann, oh God, it's incredible. It's beautiful.
Good stuff, huh?
It's fantastic. And you know why I like this issue, Donnie? I'll do another show and tell again. Why I like this series? Because they're bringing in the Phantasm. Remember Mask of the Phantasm?
Yes.
They're bringing her in. They're bringing her in to comics continuity, and I like that. So, just because I had made a pact with myself that all right, after the 85th issue of Tom King's Batman run, he was off the main title. I was not going to pick up any more Tom King because at that point, I wasn't pleased with the overall body of work. And then DC went and announced this because DC likes to take my money. When I know that feeling. Yes. When I saw that that it was going to be the Phantasm, I said, "Well, damn it! You don't remember the Godfather line? I thought I was out, but they pulled me back in.
They pulled me back in. Yeah.
That's what it was, and they didn't give me a cannoli, which I'm very upset about. Issue 1 should have come with a customary cannoli. For 2 reasons. One, because
they said that on Seinfeld too.
Yeah. First of all, because I'm Italian, they should cater to my food, tastes. Second of all, because it fits in with the metaphor of the Godfather. And third of all, if I gotta wait for Steven to make me a cannoli, it's going to be the end of time. So I mean, somebody better give me a cannoli here. Anyway, but yeah. So once I heard that piece of news, that it was an unavoidable add to my pull list, and so that's issue 3 is coming this coming week, as we're recording this coming week here. Issue 3 is coming, so I thought I'd bring that back for reference. But that's what I've been reading, and we know what you've been reading, and so now there's a bit of comic news, Donnie, and
so kick us off with that, sir.
Some people like to criticize DC as being, all they publish is Batman. That's a criticism of DC, even though I don't agree with it, because if you look at their solicitations, there's Green Lantern, there's Flash, there's Wonder Woman, there's etc., etc., etc. Granted, Batman gets more of a push. He's got a few more books because they sell better than anything else.
Yeah,
Right? It is what it is. But
DC's got to keep the lights on. So
exactly, and the guy who steeps himself in darkness helps them keep the lights on. So
ironic, isn't it?
it certainly is. But maybe they turn the bat signal on, and then that's how the lights stay on over there in DC. The whole office operates via bat signal. Anyway, but for a company so fixated, apparently, according to people screaming into the void on Twitter, for a company so fixated on Batman, they are venturing out into a whole new line of comics. They're bringing back a line of comics, Donnie. And guess what? None of these books that I'm going to tell you about involve Batman. Can you believe that, Donnie? I mean, I can see you're falling out of your chair as I speak.
We're talking about a legendary line of comics here. So who is that, Adam? What is that?
The Milestone.
Milestone, yes.
Universe of comics is returning. They're doing it with a bunch of digital first series. Which, look, I just want to speak about that for a second. Digital first means, yes, they will get a printing, like a physical printing down the road. Mm-hmm. But this makes sense because, again, yes, as you said, it's a legendary line of comics. Mm-hmm. But the sales on this book, or any book really, that anything new DC tries, are not instantaneously going to be on the level of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, or
of course, sure.
So when you're launching something like this, I think it's a smart move to do it digitally first, and the reason is all the comic fans that have read the Milestone stuff before, can be enticed to come back to this, knowing that eventually there will be a print run. But for readers that have never heard of the Milestone characters, but in a day and age where we're trying to promote diversity, mm-hmm. where digital media is the be all and end all, let's face it. If somebody sees a press release on a website with these characters telling them that they can get it digitally.
Yes. For those who don't know, Milestone was a creation of many black creators.
Right.
Back in the 90s, yes.
Yeah.
So
I think 3/4, if not all the characters in this universe are people of color.
Yes.
But imagine now reaching a whole new level of demographic and people that are not into physical collections. This is a great way to get them in.
Oh, I definitely agree.
If you're trying to reach an audience, and not every place in North America, not every corner of North America has a comic book shop, unfortunately. The comic shops are not like Tim Hortons here in Canada. There's not one on every corner.
Well, and especially in the midst of the pandemic, a lot of shops have shut down, unfortunately.
Right. So to me, this is a great move, I think. I only think it's going to increase the exposure.
Yes.
So a couple of highlights from the press release. As I said, there's going to be a series of digital miniseries to kick things off. And we're starting with February 26th with a digital first extended cut of Milestone Return Zero one-shot that was originally available only during DC Fandom, only at that website. It's going to be an expanded director's cut. It's going to be titled Milestone Returns Infinite Edition Number 0. And it combines the original 17-page comic with additional 24 pages of complete new material, written by Reginald Hudlin and drawn by Denny Cowan. Also drawn by Nicholas Draper Ivy, Bill, I can't pronounce, Sankowitz, I think it is. Mm-hmm. I think. Donnie, why am I pronouncing these names? Stephen, pronounce these names. Get up from your slumber at whatever time it is over there in Brisbane or wherever it is. I don't even know where he lives. Brisbane, that's not England, is it? I'm getting my geography mixed up. Wherever Stephen lives, England.
Somewhere in England, actually. He's never told me.
I don't know. Where is it? Yeah, I don't even know. He's the next door neighbor of the Queen. Who are we kidding? Anyway, get over here and read these names. But, so, a lot of these, legend. I know who Reginald Hudlin is, and I know Denny Cowan. And Reginald is one of the founders of the original Milestone, right? He's one of the key guys from the beginning, right?
Yes, the original creators have it here. Dwayne McDuffie, Denny Cowan, Michael Davis, and Derek T. Dingle. So, yeah.
So they were like the NWO of the right. Milestone.
Excuse me, Dennis Cowan. Yeah.
But so the added content includes. Now I don't know what the heck they're talking about here. Like, this universe is new to me, aside from Static. He's the only character I know, and that's from the cartoon. So I don't know what you know about these characters. If you can, fill me in on what the heck they're talking about here. But it says.
Well, I did read some of this back in the day, in particularly Icon.
Okay.
And I do remember Static and what was it, Blood Syndicate, I remember. But it's been a long time since I've read. I mean, again, it was founded in 1993, so it's a long time ago.
Okay, so hear me out. I was 10 back then, by the way. The good old days. Mind you, the Leafs were breaking my heart even then, so what has really changed? Anyway, what it says here is the added content in this book includes a retelling of the events of the Big Bang.
Okay.
The police brutality protest that unleashed a sudden wave of superpowers in the city of Dakota. So what the heck is the Big Bang? Do you have any idea what that is? Are they talking about like the literal Big Bang when the dinosaurs were extinct, or what are they talking about?
No, that's not for. I don't remember it as that exactly, but like I said, I would have to go back and read this because we're talking about 28 years now. Like I said, I remember reading a lot of Icon and the dynamic between Icon and his partner, but I don't remember exactly specifically the Big Bang. I remember the word Dakotaverse, but I don't remember exactly the Big Bang.
Yeah, because when I read Big Bang, I thought of two things. I'm like, all right, Death of the Dinosaurs,
right,
and Kaylee Cuoco.
Right, exactly. Who, by the way, I'm going to guess is.
Well, we touched on this last week, but it's worth repeating. Kaylee Cuoco, she's on the list. And look, if I had never seen Big Bang, she would have been on the list by voicing Harley Quinn. Like, that automatically gets you on the list. Oh, but by the way, I think recently, just quick off-topic aside. What is that? What is the actress, Donnie, that voices? Why am I blanking on her name? Batgirl from Batman the Animated Series. Harley Quinn. She's done Harley Quinn. Oh crap! Damn it! You sent me the link of her doing a bunch of voices one time, and I said that's exactly what I needed. What the heck was her name?
You talking about? Let's see.
Popular DC voice actress. Come on, the blonde. She's blonde. Not Susan Eisenberg. Tara Strong.
Tara Strong, yes. Tara Strong.
Also, by the way, Tara Strong, you're on the list. Anyway, okay. That's not
who, by the way, my daughter met her at a Comic-Con, and she was very gracious. She was very nice to her fans. Very funny. Was actually like throwing some shade at her former co-stars on Powerpuff Girls.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Jokingly though, not
Jokingly, no, she wasn't. She wasn't being mean spirited about it.
Well,
It was funny.
I'm jealous that your daughter has met one of my multiverse wives. I'm just so when you get off this podcast, tell your daughter that I'm jealous, and must be nice. Anyway, so clearly, because I have no idea what the Big Bang is in this context, you can tell that I have not read.
Well, and I do remember the company crossover between DC and Milestone, so maybe it's a reference to that, but I would have to go back and read all
was
that.
Was this before DC bought them or when DC?
I think it was when DC eventually bought them and crossed over with them.
Okay, now, just because I haven't read this before, I'll tell you right now, I'm going to pick this up.
Oh, I'm definitely looking forward to it because, again, some of those stories, even though they're so far in the past for me, I do remember that I enjoyed that new universe. So
okay, so let me tell you a bit about a couple of the ones that are coming out, the miniseries.
Okay.
So after the February one shot, we're going to get the first digital miniseries, which is, what's it called here? It's simply called Static. Of course, featuring new adventures of Dakota teenager Virgil Hawkins, which is, of course, Static. So the monthly miniseries is going to be 20 pages per issue, because usually these digital firsts are like 10 to 12 pages. So this is going to be 20 pages. And it says, bullied nerd Virgil is gifted with incredible electromagnetic powers in the wake of the Big Bang. There they go again with this Big Bang. It must be some kind of event. Now he finds himself caught between an over-militarized police response to black kids getting abilities and some of those kids who are using those powers in dangerous and destructive ways. But when bullies who terrorize him before the Big Bang show up with powers of their own, can Static be the hero Dakota needs? That's going to launch Monday, April 12th, and is going to carry a price tag, even though it's digital, of $3.99. Now, I'm okay with that because it's 20 pages.
Yeah.
I got no problem with that. So that's one that is on my list, not that list, but on the list of things I'm going to check out.
Yeah.
The second one, and you'll kind of like this one, Icon and Rocket. So
yeah, I definitely want to pick those up. I remember the conversations there between Icon and Rocket being just I don't know, very intriguing, and their differing points of view. So
yeah, so it says here, what happens when superheroes actually make a difference? When Raquel Irvin broke into the home of a wealthy black lawyer, she didn't expect to learn that he was a nearly omnipotent alien lost in despair of ever returning home. And he didn't expect that she would inspire him to emerge from the shadows and become a force for change on the planet he's trapped on. What starts out as a simple request to stop the drug trafficking in the neighborhood turns into a mission to eliminate the drug trade worldwide. However, this act of heroism has unexpected consequences, making the pair the two most wanted criminals in the world when actually stopping crime leads to the collapse of the global economy. The debut of this 6-issue monthly series, again 20 pages each, arrives June 21st, again $3.99 price tag. The premise of this one is very intriguing.
And let me put this out there for people. If you like Superman, Icon, there's a lot of similarities between Icon and Superman.
Well, then I'm getting this. I mean, I love Superman. You know I love Superman. I'm not at the level of Steven, who sleeps in Superman pajamas with a Superman plush doll instead of making us muffins, but I love Superman.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. You sleep in those Superman pajamas, Steven.
Hey, listen, I got my Batman pajamas. I'm not begrudging anybody. Listen, I'd be wearing them right. No, I'm not wearing them right now. Double check. But no, it sounds a little bit of Martian Manhunter as well.
Yeah, you could draw that comparison, sure.
The whole being stranded and stuff. So, and the third one that's going to launch this universe is Hardware. And it says here, The relaunch of Milestone would not be complete without some mention of Curtis Metcalf. August 23rd, the first wave of new Milestone stories climaxes with the return of Hardware in a digital first series. So again, 6 issues. This monthly series features the return of legendary artist and Milestone co-founder Donnie with Bill Sienkiewicz. So they're working together. And they describe the character that completes the foundation as the character that completes the foundation of the Milestone and Dakota universe, both past and present. It says here, all his life, young prodigy Curtis Metcalf was told he was special and that he would save the world. But it turns out that Alva Industries wanted his beautiful mind for something a lot less noble than that, and his technology has made him a fall guy for the tragedy of the Big Bang. Again, I have no idea what that is. But hopefully we'll find out, because otherwise I'll still be lost. But Curtis is smart enough to not go out like that, and smart enough to steal his inventions back from Alva and start the process of remaking the world his way. So, again, all these characters are new to me, and I'm okay with that. I'm intrigued. Every description has intrigued me.
Mm-hmm.
So these are 3 comics that I will be adding to my list, and I'm excited. I am excited by this. And again, for me that's never read any of this, Donnie, the fact that they have me excited tells me that, I mean, the hype machine's going, they've done their job here.
Again, back in the day, I thought it was very enjoyable to see a new universe built from the ground up. And if it's anything like the first incarnation, I think this will be very attractive to a lot of people. So definitely check it out. Support the comic book industry.
So, folks, here's your chance now. If you're one of the guys or gals online that every time DC releases solicitations, I hear you whining about, oh, look how many Batman books there are. This is your chance. Digitally, physically, buy these books. Because if you don't, and DC just reverts back to more, even more Batman, then you know what? Sorry, you have nobody but to blame but yourself. Check these out.
Yeah, check out the new titles. Check out Milestone.
So I'll be adding them to my list. It sounds like you will be too, Donnie. So what the heck? We'll probably cover them on this very show when the time comes.
Definitely.
So that's the news. That's the main news. So let's get right into it. Before you and I start tag teaming, like the great tag teams of the past, Heart Foundation, the Rockers, all those guys, and talk about books that we've both read, I'm just going to carry over some of the ones where Stephen and I left off.
Okay.
So,
I'm down for that. What have you been reading, sir? Tell me a little bit about
Dark Detective #2, which features your favorite, Old Spooky. Bruce Wayne is thought of, as of the last issue, was thought of as dead, which has brought about the emergence of the next Batman. As you know, it's been publicized. Mm-hmm. He's out there running around doing the Batman thing.
Right.
Bruce Wayne has taken up this makeshift Batman,
This is the same character we eventually see in the Justice League titles, right?
The next Batman is.
Yes.
The one I'm talking about in Dark Detective is Bruce Wayne, who's quote unquote risen from the dead. He was never dead, and here we found out what happened in issue 2. We find out what happened to him. Basically, the magistrate, which is the government organization that is running Gotham as like a police state, right? They tracked Bruce down, and the head of the magistrate had seemingly killed him. But what had happened is Bruce Wayne had, dived into the water and evaded the shots, but made it look like he was dead. Mm-hmm. And then when it was safe, he reemerged, came upon another dead body that had similar, characteristics of his, placed it in the water so that when the divers would find it, they would assume, oh look, it's Bruce Wayne, and yada yada yada.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, yeah.
So he's thought of as dead. He comes back in this makeshift Batman outfit that looks very similar to Robert Pattinson's kind of homemade Batman outfit in the Batman. And he is on the hunt to find the identity of the leader of the magistrate, because he wants to, bring him down, because what he's actually doing for Gotham is not in the best interest of Gotham. Like, Gotham is now so anti-mask that if you're a vigilante operating in Gotham, it's not a good thing anymore. Like, you're a target.
So they're anti-maskers in Gotham now.
Right, yeah, but not the idiotic kind that we
Right.
that we have in the real world. But so what we also find out to accomplish this goal of uncovering the truth, Bruce is no longer living in Wayne Manor, obviously, because his identity had been outed, so he can't live there. He's living in the basement apartment of a conspiracy theorist who thinks that he's got a different identity.
You got a few of those in the real world too, don't we?
and so in this basement, he is secretly tracking, like, the moves of the magistrate to try and piece together his identity. And he realized he's trying to figure out how did the magistrate figure out who he was.
Aha.
And they've been tapping into, his whereabouts via technology, because they're always watching, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it turns out the kooky conspiracy theorists who were in the basement of which Bruce Wayne lives was right, and the magistrate is watching. And
nice twist.
The issue ends with the head of the magistrate, descending upon the building where Bruce Wayne is now residing. So he's seemingly trapped. So we'll have to find out, how he gets out of this conundrum. But he's Batman. I'm sure he'll find a way. But issue 2 was really good. The art by Dan Moira was fantastic. And Dark Detective is one of my top 2 favorite. I'll extend it. It's a in terms of the future state stuff, it's in my top 5 favorites right now.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I recommend checking that out. I also continued reading Superman of Metropolis, which is the story that number 2, which continues the look at John Kent replacing his father as Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And when we last left John Kent, he had got himself into some trouble because he had come face to face with the next evolution of Brainiac, known as brain cells. And because he's not as experienced as his father, he thought the only way to save the inhabitants of Metropolis was to miniaturize them in like a Bottle City of Candor situation.
Mm-hmm. And he doesn't quite have his father's power levels yet either, too, does he?
Right.
Yeah.
So naturally, the citizens of Metropolis aren't too happy. All the while, John ends up on Brain Cell's ship and is sort of resigned to watching, like, the downfall of other worlds and how Brain Cells is going to study Metropolis and this and that and the other. John breaks free, but to distract him, Brain Cells creates these sort of mirages of different eras of Superman, like different eras of Clark Kent. So John has to fight different eras, different era representations of his father.
Oh, wow.
And it's cool because they're drawn in the style of that era. So they're not really there, but it's playing out the internal struggle that John is going through in his head, because he's having doubts now. I actually screwed things up and made things easier for brain cells because I put Metropolis in a bottle to protect him, but I actually did the reverse. So he's having doubts of, am I good enough to be Superman?
Am I good enough to have this mantle? Yes, that's interesting.
So he's having those internally, but he's actually physically playing them out with these pretenders that are like stand-ins for different eras of his father. So that was a really cool dynamic to watch play out. And obviously, I won't tell you how because I prefer people read the books. But he does break free, and he does sort of make a pact with Metropolis to get people back on it. Like he sort of makes it up. He makes his apologies and things of that nature, and pledges to be the Superman of Metropolis, which is why the title is what it is. And I thought it was a very cool book, so it's another one that I would recommend. But very well done stories. Dark Detective has, I think, 2 more left. Superman and Metropolis is done. So, yeah, they were both very well written, very well drawn. If you're a fan of either of those 2 characters, pick those books up. They're really good reads.
Mm-hmm. All right. That was a very good summary, sir.
There you go.
I'll definitely have to get to those at some point.
And if you want a rating, we do out of 5, right, for comics? 5
yes, out of 5.
So Dark Detective is 5 for both story and art, across the board. And Superman of Metropolis, I'll say 4 story and 4.5 art.
Okay. All right.
All right. So, moving on. Where do you want to go next, Donnie?
The next we talked about was Green Lantern Future State.
Number 2.
Number 2, yes.
So what happens? Where are we with John Stewart in the first of 3?
This is a story called Last Lanterns, written by Geoffrey Thorne. And when we last left John Stewart, that was Green Lantern Future State number 1. He was trying to evacuate this planet from this bloodthirsty horde of Kuns. And he was coming into conflict, and again, he is without his ring at this point, with this Kundian cult leader who wears the...
Say that 3 times fast.
I think I'd rather not. If you give us $50 for the Patreon, though, just kidding. Anyway. So, again, this Kundian cult leader, he wears the body of a fallen Green Lantern who I thought might be Stell, but later on, John Stewart calls this character, was it RRU-92? And so this cult leader, again, he very powerful, and John Stewart and his other former Green Lanterns are kind of getting overrun. Yeah. Nort dies, which I was kind of okay with that. Salak is beaten in a way where his vitals are very low. But this Kundish cult leader, he just kind of keeps going and going. He's urging on his followers to commit greater atrocities in the name of the God in Red. Ooh. And that turns out to be, were you able to read this one?
I did, oh yeah.
Yeah. The God in Red turns out to be Orion.
I didn't expect that. Not really.
No, I was kind of thinking along the lines of, like somebody like Atrocitus.
That's what I thought. Yeah. All right. Bring back Atrocitus. Let's go.
Yeah. But eventually, even though John is captured, he's able to save the day because he's able to use the armor against this Kundish cult warrior.
Yeah.
And John gives this speech, and this is where I think Geoffrey Thorne really gets at the heart of John Stewart, because John's a tactician. John knows how to outthink opponents.
Yeah.
And we've seen this storyline in the past a little, or this story point, I should say, where Green Lanterns are able to think their way around situations even when they don't have their ring.
That's true.
And John makes the point of saying, you underestimated me because you thought the power was just in the ring. The ring's just a tool. And, we've seen that before. In Volume 3, we saw Kyle attack Parallax without his ring, and he was like, because that's what a hero does. In Green Lantern, the animated series, the episode Babel, we saw Hal Jordan with a drained ring, as well as Kilowog and Razor. And he gives them a speech that we're not lanterns because of the rings, we're lanterns because of our hearts. Now, they can't understand it because their translators are down. But nonetheless, it's very inspiring. And we see John with that image here he's still wearing his ring, even though it's drained.
Yeah.
And he's saying, basically, I'm still Green Lantern. Because, Green Lantern, it's a way of being. And he's actually able to outsmart the Kuns by turning that armor against the cult leader. And again, I really love this story. I like where it goes because, again, it's more of an Elseworlds type of story. It's one kind of possible future scenario. Yeah. So what did you think of it?
Oh, I loved it. I think this issue for me, I mean, you kind of knew this before if you've ever read John Stewart. But the seeming insurmountable odds, coupled with that speech, tells me that John Stewart is perfect to be the leader of the Green Lantern Corps.
Well, he's the most natural leader of the titular Lanterns anyway.
And this is going to upset some people, but I think he's, to me, he's the quintessential leader of the Corps over Hal, over Kyle, over anybody else. I just think he was born for that. You know what I mean? That's how it comes off. And again, this book, I mean, they've lost 3 members at least, right? And they're still powering through, fighting the good fight. And look, it doesn't end with victory. It ends with the continuation of the battle. It's like the story ends. It's not over in the sense of, there's a happy ending and they all go to Radu's and have a coffee or whatever. Like, they're still knee deep in the fight.
Yeah.
But it's that idea that even though we may not see it, you just know that John's going to prevail.
I like this idea that they keep fighting against all odds. In particular, John Stewart is leading this fight even without that tool.
Yeah. So I loved it, and I loved my favorite image was him clutching his fist, and you see the red. The green ring. You still see the ring. Mm-hmm. It's still there.
Yeah, it's still there.
It's a symbol of hope, much like Superman's S. It's a symbol of will, I should say. No, but, yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, I love the first issue, the first story.
Yeah.
Of this issue. So, do you want to rate each one separately?
Oh, we could do that. I would say with this one.
Wait, what was your favorite page? Piece of art for the story.
Same thing. Again, John showing the ring and saying, you stink of fear. They're still afraid of him because of his valor, because of his ability to think around situations and be a tactician.
Yeah.
Now, I will say with this one, and I hate to say this because the artist is one whom I like, there were a couple panels that looked a little rushed. So I didn't think the art was quite as good as it was last time.
Sure.
For the John Stewart section, at least.
Sure.
But again, this I really like Jeffrey Thorne's writing. I think it's different, and I really think he understands John Stewart. So
absolutely. So what would you rate it, then?
I would say story 5, art 3.5, 3.5. So
yeah, I'm gonna say story 5, art 3.5. Yeah, that's a good.
And another thing, minor criticism. Again, it's weird for me to see John Stewart with long hair.
Yeah.
And not that I have anything against long hair. I used to have long hair myself, but John being a soldier, I don't see him being the kind of person who would let his hair grow out like that and pull it back and possibly be something that could be grabbed in battle. John's the kind of guy that he'd whip out a knife and just shave that stuff off. So I know it's weird. Point. Yeah, it's weird to see Jon Stewart with long hair, but again,
he
obviously,
he won't have it in the regular title going forward. So at least that we know of. So.
But yeah, now all that being said, I do like the coloring. I do like the looks of all the various aliens here. It's still very enjoyable. I just thought that there were a couple of panels that were a little rushed this time.
Oh, totally understandable. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Second story of the issue then.
Okay, the second story is it involves Kelly Quintella, which is the Teen Lantern. And this was written by Josie Campbell, and it's called Dead Space. So, do you know much about Teen Lantern, Adam?
I don't know much about her, actually. Yeah.
She's actually fairly new. She was came about in 2019. She was let's see, it was a Bendis. She was Brian Michael Bendis, and I can't remember her other creator, Patrick Gleason. And anyway, so this is a story about her being sent to Mogo by the New Guardians. And they are sending her into the far sector to meet with Joe Mullane. And they're sending her through a trip called the Into the Boots Void, which is devoid of stars and galaxies.
Okay.
And this was a very interesting story. Now, I think it's important to maybe admit kind of your preferences and biases here. Kelly Quintella, the character, I think the jury's still out on this one because even though she's referred to as Teen Lantern, she's 11 years old and she's carrying a gauntlet similar to the Gauntlet of Krona that we saw Hal Jordan with at one point. And I just don't know about some of the interactions with this character yet. Now, she may be a character who eventually develops the way Jessica Cruz did into a character that's very enjoyable. But right now, she's this 11-year-old with this all-powerful weapon. And to me, I always kind of have to, keep narratively putting myself back into the situation because I'm like, it's an 11-year-old with a weapon, and everybody's okay with this. There was one point in Young Justice where Jon Stewart sees her and he sees her with the gauntlet and he's like, well, I guess we better get you trained up. To me, at some point, you would think that these characters would say, all right, we're going to get this off of you until you're a little bit older and ready to use this.
Yeah, I'd be like, we're going to get this off you, then train you.
Right. And another thing in this issue.
Or send her to Batman, he'll fix her. This is a war. He'll traumatize the crap out of her.
Right. But, I'll say this too, in the past, I never particularly cared for Dick Grayson until he was Nightwing. I never really cared for the old, the way Bucky was portrayed when he was younger until he was the Winter Soldier.
Sure.
She may be a character that someday, when they age her up to 20 years old, that's a great character. But one of the things in this issue, we see that she says the Guardians, and these are the young Guardians, that they tried to remove the gauntlet when she was sleeping. Well, in the past, let's say, the old Guardians, we're told that their power levels are immense. I believe it was Green Lantern Rebirth where it said Ganthet can crack a planet in half with a thought. And so why couldn't the Guardians just say, we're going to, temporarily immobilize this person and pull the gauntlet off? It's those kind of things that make me, there's a little bit of problematic areas with this character. But nonetheless, she travels with Mogo, who unfortunately experiences the loss of the power battery. And Mogo goes dark. So all of a sudden, here's this 11-year-old on this planet by herself. It starts to get cold, and she has to try to run from these really hideous aliens, which, by the way, the art in this is just great.
I love the art. Yeah.
Andy Tong is the artist. And I really did like that. Now, so like I said, it's not that I didn't like this story, but Kelly Quintella, she's not a character whom I'm invested in quite yet. I still think they need to do a few things with her before she can carry her own story. And that was really my only issue here. I think she's more of a side character, and that's what she's going to be in, I think, the upcoming Green Lantern books. More of a side character to John and Joe and Simon. So
yeah.
And
I've never had I was so behind on Young Justice that when I stopped reading, I don't think she was in the group yet. But so I have zero connection to her because like this is the first time that I'm reading her, right? So yes, there are some contrivances there that are a little iffy. Like the Guardians really can't get it off her. Like, seriously. But I think the writing channels the motivations and the perspective of an 11-year-old quite well. She definitely does have a strong willpower to be able to keep forging on despite the power outage and the darkness and being stranded in at one point alone in this unfamiliar situation. So her willpower is there. So I think there's definitely opportunity for her to grow into the role.
I think she works in a certain way right now, but there are other ways she doesn't work.
Yeah,
so.
and I think her banter with Mogul was quite entertaining. I did enjoy that.
Yeah. So we don't want to give away all of what happened in the story. Of course, we want you to buy it. But
so I think there's room. Like if we can grow with the character, like if we can watch her grow under the tutelage of other more experienced lanterns, I think this could work. Yeah. It has the potential.
And I like the story point of Mogo being able to draw power from the gauntlet and kind of,
it's like
reanimate. And so you did see a bond between Kelly and Mogo here. So again, there were some good things to this story, but again, just this is a particular character whom I'm not invested in yet because I don't know. Again, it's a very recent character, and I don't know where they're going with her. So
yeah. All right, cool. So what did you rate this story art-wise and story-wise?
The art was really good. I'll give the art a 5. I'll give the story a 4. It went along as well as it could, but again, when you're working with a character who's a little problematic, you're only going to do so well with it. So again, I think they did as well as they could with the character that they're given at this point in time.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree wholeheartedly with your rating. 4 for the story, 5 for the art. So the final story in this issue.
The final story is called Recon. And we see Hal Jordan realizing that something is amiss with the Corps. And so he jumps in a spaceship and he heads off into deep space. And we see a lot of old favorites here. We see the Red Lantern Corps. He passes them. The Sinestro Corps. We see Larfleeze. And we finally see Hal Jordan reaching Oa. And, I kind of like the synergy because it reminded me a lot of Emerald Twilight. Where Hal...
good point,
Yeah, where Hal leaves Oa and you see the shattered battery and the bodies of the Guardians. This is what he comes back to. The central power battery is smashed and the rings aren't working. And I really like his journey through space. It's pretty amazing. It reminded me some of the interactions from Green Lantern the animated series. When he was flying the Interceptor through space. I really like that.
Sure.
But he comes to Oa, and again, Oa is pretty much decimated.
Yeah.
But then we see what is my favorite moment in the whole book, even though I like the Jeffrey Thorne story a little bit better, and that is Hal Jordan finally meeting, in this continuity, Joe Mullane. Yeah. And I just that image was just so, as a longtime Green Lantern fan, it was so invigorating to see her, who I wasn't sure whether she'd be brought into this continuity or not, whether Far Sector was just going to be its own entity, but she's brought in at the end, and she snatches him up and says, "Where were you?" You know, she was like, "I'm number 3 in the Mega Powers. I need to be number 1. Where were you when I was against the Twin Tower?" No, just kidding.
I know. In my head canon, I imagined her voice as Christian Bale's Batman voice when she said, "Where were you?"
Where were you, Hal Jordan? No, really, she snatches. She's like, "Where were you when the Corps needed you?"
Yeah. Exactly.
Obviously, something awful has happened. We know this because we saw this in the previous issue with the, Guy Gardner losing his power. We know that something's happened to the central power battery, but Hal Jordan wasn't there. So we're getting a clearer picture of what happened.
Yeah, excuse me. I love this issue, this story. Obviously, Robert Venditti was the writer. I think it was a nice return to cap off his time. He really does cap off his time on Green Lantern.
I'm a big fan of Robert Venditti. Yes.
Yeah.
So.
And the art by Dexter Soy, who's going to be the main artist on the new Green Lantern book by Jeffrey Thorne. Oh, the art was beautiful, Donnie. I mean,
would definitely agree.
Imagine monthly. We're going to get this monthly space battles that look like this. I mean,
and I gotta show you that last image of Hal and Joe. I love it.
Look how beautiful that looks.
Oh,
it's just.
Yeah, $5.99 from DC Comics.
It's phenomenal art, and again, I love that. Yeah, you're right. She's what, 3rd, 4th in the pack. God knows what number she is in terms of Earth Lanterns. I've lost count at this point. But Joel really takes charge, and he really. I think that moment, that's like the putting her over moment.
Yeah.
When she stands up to Hal Jordan, it's like when Hogan slammed Andre.
Would you say that's her WrestleMania moment?
Absolutely, yeah. And unlike John Cena, we could see it on that big splash page at the end. Yeah.
And she didn't blow the spot either, so.
Yeah, definitely not. So I love the way DC's built her out. I mean, they've done a really good job. I mean, say what you will about how they've treated Kyle Rayner over the years, but they've done a real good job with both Jessica Cruz and now Joan Mullane. And this is the way you create new characters and endear them to your reader while also trying to gain them appeal elsewhere. And they've done that with Jessica. It remains to be seen what other media Joel will eventually transition to. And this brings me how good they've handled these two. Brings me back to Teen Lantern and the potential that's there. If they handle that with the same care and the same time, probably a little bit more time with that one because she's so young. But if they handle it with the same care, I mean, the future's bright. No pun intended. The future's bright for the Green Lantern brand.
Yeah.
But I love this story. Like I said, because now we know what's Hal Jordan up to. But also, it doesn't, just because they brought back Hal Jordan, it doesn't delegitimize any of the other lanterns.
Right.
Which is, I think,
in fact, I think that, like you said, that's a way of putting her over. Seeing her interact with Hal like that.
Yeah. Had Hal come in and he's like, "Who the hell are you?" Or, "I'll take it from here," right? If he had done that, I think that totally defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
But this was really well done. I loved it, and like I said, you're telling me you're gonna give me month in, month out Dexter Soy artwork on Green Lantern after I saw the flight through space with and you see Sinestro Corps, the Red Line. I'm like, yeah, take my money.
Right.
Like it's our. I don't know. I haven't checked, but I'm gonna check after. If I can I can't. It's too many months. It's still too early to pre-order it. But as soon as it's available for pre-order on Comixology, it's going to be a monthly subscription, guaranteed.
Yeah. Like I said, I do look forward to that pairing. I mean, this was a very short story. So I'm going to give it a 4.5 as far as writing goes for what it was. Again, Venditti only had a few pages to work with. The art, I'm going to agree on Soy's art. The pencils, at least, the coloring looked in a couple of places a little off. There were some of the energy, like squiggles or whatever, on Hal Jordan's ship. I noticed that they looked a little weird, but again, very minor criticisms. I'll give the art a 4 in this one. Overall, I liked both Future State Green Lantern books, and it's very intriguing where DC is going with this.
Absolutely agree. I will give it a, like you said, on writing, 4.5. If there was more story, probably would have got a 5. But that brief interaction between Joe and Hal, perfect.
That in and of itself, I mean, that
I mean, can we give Venditti? Like, I know he did. He
Hawkman?
did that. Well, he did Hawkman. He did Green Lantern. He did the digital first Superman story.
Yeah.
Can we get him on Superman? Like, give him a brand new physical Superman book.
Yeah.
Like, just give him his own book with every main member of the Justice League, please. Call it the Venditti verse, where it's an Elseworlds. He can do
Venditti-verse, all right.
He can do whatever the hell he wants with each of the characters, and just let him run. But yeah, it was great. So, story 4.5, art 5. I mean, I can't give any. I can't take off marks for the art. I can't. It's just so beautiful. If it was a woman, it'd be on the list.
Okay.
And with that, we'll move on to the next book.
Well, why don't we talk a little bit about what they're doing with Justice League, since that connects directly to Joe Mullane?
Sure.
So what were your initial impressions of the Justice League #1, Future State?
Well, I mean, the first of all, to see that there's a new Legion of Doom formed. Some of these people I was, tangentially familiar with. Some were new to me. And then, after the, what is it? T.O. Morrow makes his big proclamation. We're gonna get the League. We're gonna vengeance, right? And then next panel, our newly formed Future State Justice League is investigating the murder of the. I'm like, whoa, I don't know what's going on here, but that was quick. And I like that splash page with the different images of the different heroes, and you get a little blurb on each of them. That was a really cool way.
Yeah, because again, you get a lot of new characters, and anyone who hasn't read some of these characters in the last couple of years, you may not know exactly what's going on here. But again, this is another possible future, and so we have a new Justice League, and so they're introducing you to these characters.
It was very easily accessible. I'll say that. So I guess we should say who the team members are just before we go any further.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
It's Superman, John Kent. Batman, which is Jace / that's what he calls himself, but it's actually Tim Fox, one of the sons of Lucius. It's Andy Curry, which is the daughter of Arthur and Mira. We've got the Flash, who is it's a transgender character. How do I say it? Is it transgender or gender fluid? Which is it? I'm confused.
I think either one of those works, transgender or gender fluid.
Either one is good? All right. So because I don't know, I'll say both transgender or gender fluid. I don't want to upset anybody. Unless you're a Supergirl stan, then I'll say something to upset you in a different place. No, because I've been called negative things by those people unfairly. So any chance I get to rub their feathers because of that, I'll do it. But I don't want to unjustly offend anybody by using the wrong terminology. So it is a either gender fluid or transgender. Take your pick on how you want to describe it. They go by they when characters refer to them instead of he or she. They refer to them as they.
They, right.
And it's a character from an alternate Earth, alternate universe.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Green Lantern, of course, Joe Mullen, which, and that is I got everybody, right? That's our team.
Right, yeah. And Yara Flor.
Yara Flor, sorry, how could I miss Wonder Woman?
Yeah.
It's funny during the detective scene where instinctively, even though it's a different Batman, he's like, Flash, what do we got? And I think it's Wonder Woman that points out. No, it's Green Lantern. Sorry, that points out. He's not Barry Allen. He's not. They're not a detective.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny.
Early on, they're showing that Joe Mullen is actually the best detective in this universe, and that's really what I like. Again, very big fan of Joe Mullen. I like the fact that they're utilizing her in this way. So
that was expertly done. Also, the different dynamic with this Justice League and the fact that they're going off of rules set by the previous iteration of the Justice League, where they're not allowed to reveal their identities or fraternize outside of Justice League duty with one another. And the reason being is there was some event where a team member turned on the Justice League and really caused the end of the Justice League. I mean, they left the Hall of Justice in tatters.
Right.
Who knows what happened to the actual Justice League members?
It was probably Batman.
Was it though? Because he was standing there with them when the guy.
No, I'm just joking around. Yeah. I was thinking about Justice League Doom, but I don't. Yeah, no, I don't think we actually get an answer to that in this.
We don't, which is kind of disappointing. But because I'm like, well, who was it? You know, what, I got to hire Maury Povich to give me the answer. By the way, that's the second podcast this week that I've mentioned Maury Povich, or since last week I mentioned Maury Povich. I'm not really a big fan of the show either. I just find it hilarious.
just rattling around in your head.
Whenever I need an answer to a question, I think of, for whatever reason, DNA test or otherwise, I think of Maury Povich. But maybe he can tell me what the Big Bang in the Milestone universe is before they.
I have quite a feeling that there are quite a few atoms out there in the Omniverse that are, you are the father.
Right? I mean, we could have a whole episode on.
And hey, we might on the Multiverse Musings podcast network.
Guesting on each Earth. That could be a good. Somebody animate that.
You could be like Harrison Wells.
Yeah, I'll do the voiceover. We have an animated suit. Good. Yeah. But no. So I wanted to know what happened there.
Okay.
But and unfortunately we don't know who the actual Judas of the situation is. But the intriguing thing about issue 1 is the murderers of the Legion of Doom, which are the Hyper Clan, which are a group of white Martians who then decide we're going to take down the Justice League by assuming their form.
Right.
And one by one, they infiltrate and take them down, send them to some hellscape to end off the issue, and then are like, well, let's assume their identity and go save the world.
Yeah.
Now,
I really like that imagery there of them kind of sending the Justice League off like that and taking over.
I did like this because I don't know if you caught this parallel too, but it mirrors, to a degree, the original Justice League animated series, because the first 3 episodes of that series started off with white Martians, if you remember. So it was a nice nod to that. At least I perceived it as a nod. Whether it was or not, maybe I'm, picking stuff up out of thin air, but that's what I thought it was. So I liked that aspect of it. I thought it was really well. The art was great. I loved the art. And I love that, the writing was good. Like the fact that the characters were unfamiliar with, like if you just pick this up, let's say on a whim and not having read any other Future State title, you'd be in the same position as each new member of the Justice League.
Right. We see that they're trying to act.
Yeah.
They're trying to act like a team, but they don't quite know how to do that yet because they're unfamiliar with one another. So
and that leads to their capture. Their unfamiliarity with each other leads to their capture. So, what did you think of the first issue? If you had to rate it, what would you?
Oh, I would say writing 4.5, art, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 5. I really liked the way it looked. Yeah.
No, for me, having a background with each of these characters, with the exception of the Flash, because I've been reading the other Future State books, I'm going to give it a 5 on both counts, writing and art. I loved it. So issue 2, where does that leave us with issue 2? Where do we?
So issue 2 picks up, and again, the Hyper Clan, they have infiltrated and taken over the Justice League. And I really like the visuals of, the White Martians, them kind of being Justice League members. A lot of creepy visuals there. But in this one, we realize, we as the reader realize that, the Justice League, for them to prevail, they need to start trusting one another beyond their superhero identities. Yeah. They've got to start, acting like, true friends and teammates. And so that's what eventually leads to them turning the tables. So what was your thoughts on that?
I really love that aspect of it. And when they're in that hellscape, let's call it, when they have that, discussion and they start revealing something about each other.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, very little character traits, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, so like when John Kent says, well, because of my super hearing, I can hear all the way to Gotham, and every time this Batman is in a fight,
he hums.
he hums like a fight tune to himself. He creates his own fighting theme, which I thought was hilarious because in my head, all I'm imagining is the Batman '89 theme as he's fighting. Yeah. And then the cool thing with the Flash and Aquawoman is he calls her princess because they have some sort of extracurricular, let's call it extracurricular relationship outside of the team when initially they weren't supposed to. So there's that little known fact. And Wonder Woman, when there's a tense situation, Aquaman reveals that she bites her lip or whatever, right, as a coping mechanism. So these little character traits that I thought were quite unique. And the best part about them is they come back into play afterwards, which helps them in the third act of the big fight.
Right.
So, and I liked one of my favorite pieces of art was when the Flash uses it, like temporarily shares his speed with them or their speed with them to get them from where they are back into their, onto their Earth.
Yes, I did like that visual, and I like that story point too, that he could share his speed with the ones who needed it.
But what I like about that, the art specifically, is the only one that's in detailed, clear focus is the Flash, and the rest of the characters are drawn. They're less detailed, more blurry, and that is not laziness by the artist. That's evoking
intentional.
The speed, which is great.
Yeah,
I love it. It's probably my favorite. One of my favorite. I've got two favorite pages. That one's one of them.
Yeah.
So they get back, and they're taking on the Hyper Clan, and it's weird because they're fighting each other, like they're fighting themselves. Mm-hmm. And Superman says, "Well, I'm going to just fight the version of myself because I don't like punching my friends," which I thought was cool.
Yeah, that's a Superman thing to say. Yes.
Yeah. And so you see there comes time when one leaguer handles their business and has to go help another leaguer, they have to make the discovery, okay, which one is my teammate?
Right.
And the way they do that is by using the traits they learned about while they were in the void, and it helps them.
Yeah. Helps them function as a team and by extension win the battle. So, yeah.
So I like that a lot.
Right. And you can kind of see, you know, they contrast with the Hyper Clan because the Hyper Clan, they're kind of fighting amongst themselves too. They don't exactly know what to do. And while the Justice League is coming together, that's what eventually puts them over the top. And them learning one another, their personalities and their ways of fighting. So
and then the fun part is when Batman comes there with a fire. What's it called? Come on, help me out. The gun, the fire.
I don't remember exactly. Was it like a flamethrower thing? I can't remember. I don't have
like a flame. Yeah, flame gun. Right.
Yeah.
And the Flash says, "Where did you fit that in your utility belt? How did you fit that in your utility belt?" And then he explains, while you guys were fighting, I remember that white Martians, Martians' weakness is fire.
Fire, yeah.
So while you guys were distracting them fighting, I went to look for that. So it's, again, even though it's not Bruce Wayne, he's adopting the Batman quality of being a detective.
Right, being very resourceful, obviously. So
I like that aspect of it. And the banter between him and the Flash has carried into the future, even though they're two different people,
right,
occupying those identities, which is cool.
And I have to say this too, and again, I'm going to be a homer as the Emerald Enthusiast, who you can listen to on iTunes and Podbean.
I'm shocked you're going to say something positive about a Green Lantern, Donnie. I'm really.
I like the fact.
To the seat. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. No, all right, I'm in. I'm not going to follow. Go ahead.
Jo is the leader of this group. They acknowledge her as being the one who takes the leadership role, and I like the fact that they're putting so much focus on her.
Yeah, I agree.
Sue me for being a homer.
Well, she's the most. But think about it. She's the most experienced of the group, if you think about it, right?
And she's the one who fits that role the best.
Farsec, right? By association.
Right.
Is the longest one, and also, she's a cop.
And she's a former soldier too. Yeah. So we see that. Yeah.
In a leadership role. So then, they decide, let's do what John Kent is badgering us to do. Let's change the rules, and let's get together for a meal and really have a meeting, just a meeting. And they do. They bear their identities to each other, and they have a meeting over dinner where they discuss who to potentially add to the roster. Mm-hmm. What I like about this is that going into the meeting, when he's having a conversation with Wonder Woman, Superman is nervous. He talks about having butterflies. And I like the fact that he's still growing into the role of Superman. Because that's a mantle, let's be honest. Superman is the pinnacle of the DC universe in terms of heroes. He's the one that every one of them aspires to be like.
Right. And he's the one who started it all. So, yeah.
So go ahead, people out there. Call me a Batman homer after I just said that. But I like the fact that he's nervous because, again, that's not a mantle that you just, hey, all right, Dad, see you later. Go off and do whatever you're going to do. And I'm, happy retirement. I'm going to take over and I'm going to be an expert at it. Like, no, he's having trouble. He's working himself up to that level.
Having understandable doubts.
Yeah, and I like that little twist. Yeah. And in terms of team members, looking at the hologram, I personally go with Miss Martian. That's who I would add. I don't want to see Lobo's daughter because it gives me memories of the Teen Titans book with Butterball, and I don't think Butterball was in the.
He means roundhouse, by the way. I thought he was actually talking about bouncing boy, but he means roundhouse.
That's what it is, isn't it? Isn't that bouncing boy? Who is what is it?
No. His name's Roundhouse.
Butterball's better, and that's what it makes me think of turkey and Thanksgiving, and there's nothing wrong with that. So Butterball's not on the team, and he's not in the hologram, nor would he be on my team. He'd be on my dinner table because that's what you do with a Butterball turkey. You eat it. So that's how it ended, and I liked it. I
definitely appreciate these two issues.
And I like the ending. The ending with them, at a table, eating, fraternizing. It reminded me of, I know this is going to be sacrilege to some people, but it kind of reminded me of the shawarma scene in the Avengers.
How dare you say that?
I know, Sean.
No, I can see your point, and I liked it too. I like this idea that them trusting one another.
Page, by the way.
Yeah, that them trusting one another is what came to. That's how this story came around to. My favorite panel was Joe creating the construct giant hand and stepping between Batman and Superman and saying, "You're both big boys now. Calm down."
That was funny, but I just noticed something with Steven. It's like every episode he's going to mention something Superman. Right. Donnie is the same way, but he's going to mention something Green Lantern. and me, usually I'm going to mention something Batman in an episode, and 9 times out of 10 it might be my cookie. I just throw that out there. Honestly, Donnie, if DC came out tomorrow and said we're going to create another title and keep the Future State Justice League team going, I'd be more than happy to pick it up because I loved it. Right. Personally.
No, I'm definitely happy to see where this goes. I will definitely be picking up the Justice League title in physical form. So.
Yeah. So, what would you rate issue 2?
Oh, I'm going to give the story 4.5. I'm going to give the art a 5. It looked really good. Again, it was a small scale story, so I don't know how much better they could have done with it, but overall, I was just very satisfied with where this went.
I'm going to give it a 4.5 for story, only because they didn't give me the answer I was looking for.
That's a good point.
Who in the hell betrayed the Justice League?
Yeah.
Adam wants to know. And when I started talking to myself in the third person, things are getting serious because I'm not The Rock, as much as I wish I was. Because
don't we all?
Jeez. Anyway, if I had a list of men, which I don't, but the Rock would be on the list if I played for that team, but I don't. Nothing wrong with that. But the Rock would be on the list. But
okay, good to hear. Good to hear. Good to hear. All right.
I'm confident in myself to admit that another man is impressive. There's nothing wrong with that. I gotta give a shout out to The Rock. Besides, you don't want to piss that guy off. Imagine not putting him on the list; he'd probably kill you. Well, physically, he could break you like a.
Hey, I will. If I could shapeshift into another man, I'd probably want to look like The Rock. That wouldn't be bad at all.
You're gonna go see Black Adam UT. If you're gonna take your wife to that movie, you don't think she's gonna be attracted to him? Come on.
Oh, I know she likes The Rock. She's already told me.
That's what. There you go. Right. Not saying anything. He's ruining it for the rest of us. I'll tell you that much. But so 4.5 because they didn't give me the answer I wanted, and then art is a 5.
Yeah.
All right, what's next, Donnie?
Let's move on to Flash number 2. Flash Future State number 2. Yes.
So what the heck happened in this issue? Then?
Wow.
Flashbacks.
Flashbacks.
Yeah.
What we see here is that. Again, Barry is without his speed, so he's trying to deal with.
He's old man Barry at this point, right?
Huh? Old Man Barry. Yeah, I really like that. Seeing him with the old gray beard sticking out of the mask.
That's a beard to aspire to.
Well, I'm getting there.
When I'm that old, I want to have a beard like that.
But we see him using a lot of the old tech from his rogues gallery to try to deal with Wally. And what I like about this issue is it kind of echoes what's going on with Green Lantern a little bit. And I like the synergy there is learning to fight without the usual tool that he has, which is the Speed Force. And instead trying to counteract everything Wally did by using this old technology. And again, it was a simple plot, but for a long-time reader, I think it was very satisfying to see him use all these little strategies to try to counteract what Wally was doing in the battle.
And I love when Barry uses his brain.
Yes. Yeah.
And comes up with a solution on his own. Now, you know, Donnie, I love the Flash TV show.
Oh, yes.
I love it. But one of my issues is, can Barry come up with a scenario, a plan on his own, please? Can I have that?
He's done that at times. He's done that.
I need more of that. I need less of this consultation with 12,000 people.
That's a point, yeah.
Use your damn brain, because you got one. You're a scientist. You're not, you know, I can understand why Green Arrow needs a team. He's not a scientist. I don't like the team he chose because it has Felicity on it. Take her off and you got a good team. But I digress. I'm not going there. So that is a big selling point for me. That he uses his brain. The other instance that I like is that Wally, or this possessed Wally.
Yeah.
As
spoilers: Wally's possessed by famine in this issue.
Yeah. Yeah. He's not experiencing famine; he's possessed by it.
Right.
I'm assuming.
That's what. Yeah. That's what.
I'm assuming famine eats, but I don't know.
Well, yeah, that Wally is kind of right. Wally's kind of a Speed Force vampire. That's what we saw in issue 1. Yeah.
Dracula, but I don't have an acronym for Wally and Dracula. I'm not 12. Come on, teenagers, help me out. But I'm old now. I can't come up with this crap on a whim. I like that he uses people's hope, like as he feeds off of it. So like he builds it up and then snatches it away. Like I love that. Like he taunts Barry by making him think that he's getting through to Wally, and then at the last moment says. Well,
and the ending of this, it was very shocking. It was
very.
So let's
talk about. We kind of have to. So spoilers.
Yeah. Well, yeah, spoilers. So here we go. Yeah.
Buy the issue. That's our recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
And now, so that first and foremost, buy the issue yourself, either via Comixology or physical. And now in 3 seconds, we're going to spoil the ending. So 3, 2, 1, go.
Barry is turned into what Famine refers to as an immortal ghost. So he has to watch. He's kind of separate. Watch everything from that point on unfold with no way to affect it.
Yeah.
And that was a very dire ending there. What did you think?
I was shocked. Because on one hand, the Flash loses. Or seemingly loses. And for a character that's so hopeful, that ending seems, at one point in time, void of hope. However, the saving grace of this issue was the little maneuver that the last thing Barry does. He allows another hero to find his ring. I can't remember which hero it was. Escapes me now. But if you read the book, you'll know.
Yes.
So go read the book. But
yeah, let's not give that little story point away. Yeah.
It's a Teen Titan.
Yeah.
And it ties in with the Teen Titan book, which I haven't read yet.
Right.
So maybe they give us an explanation maybe they give us a resolution in the Teen Titans Future State book. I don't know. But this doesn't have a resolution. But it does offer you some hope that somebody does have the Flash ring. So maybe somehow the Teen Titans will find a way to save Wally and Barry.
Yeah.
So even somehow a Flash book is able to give you hope at the end, which is, I think, for a rather dark book, it still manages to maintain some hope, which is, I think,
right.
a core essential element of the Flash character. So hope is important to imbue that character with. So I'm glad they did, because had they not put that little end in, I may have been less kind in my rating.
Well, I really liked how it played out. I thought it was. I'd give it a higher rating than 5. The writing, if I could, because I thought it was really that good. But I'm going to say that the writing was a 5 and the art was also a 5. I really liked this issue.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 4.5 for the writing, just because it ended resolutionless in a way.
Right. So, but I thought that worked here. I thought that's what this needed.
It worked because of the ring.
Yeah.
But now I got to go over and read Teen Titans, which I wasn't really intending to do. And if there's not a resolution there, Adam's going to be upset, because these books are a little extra pricey.
Right.
So, but I'll give it a shot. But this one is 4.5. The art is 5. I mean, it's amazing.
Right.
And that beard that Barry's sporting deserves a 5 all its own. So,
yeah. All right, so let's wrap things up.
Yeah.
With Aquaman number 1.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have to say this here. This is the first solo Aquaman that I've read since. Well, I did read one in Endless Winter, but I read Aquaman a little bit in the 90s. And
was it the hook hand Aquaman?
Yes, that was the one who could like dehydrate other characters by touching them. I really liked that back then. Since then, I've mainly seen Aquaman in the Justice League books. Yeah. But with this one, we see that it centers around Jackson Hyde and Andy Curry, which is of course the child, the daughter of Aquaman. And this was it was simple as far as the narrative of the story. But I don't mean that in the bad way. It was accessible to readers who either may not have been here for a while, or maybe this is their first Aquaman book. I really liked the way it went. So what were your impressions?
I've been reading Aquaman since New 52, Jeff Johns.
So I need to get on that. Obviously, I mean, if Jeff Johns wrote it, I'm sure it's brilliant.
There's a thread on YouTube. More on social media. On Twitter, where there would be threads, because YouTube is a video. Anyway, there's a thread on Twitter.
Well, there could be a thread in the comments section.
Right, and this is true, but I made a mistake. It was on Twitter. Enjoy the mistake. I don't make them often. Once an episode, but anyway, usually at the beginning. But that asked me, what was a character that you weren't initially a fan of, but the movie kind of change your perspective.
Oh, I responded to that thread, yeah.
And look, this is going to piss people off again, because I'm going to mention the theatrical. Well, no, it's not going to piss people off, because technically this happened during BVS. When it was announced that Jason Momoa would be playing Aquaman. Look, Jason Momoa brings interest to a character. He just does. Because, man, that guy's been in some cool roles beforehand. Stargate Atlantis. Mm-hmm. I'm not counting Baywatch Hawaii, because that was terrible. But I digress. But Game of Thrones, I mean, he got to, be married to and have extracurricular affairs with, that's what I call it, with Emilia Clarke's character, the Queen of Dragons. For anybody that wants a quick Game of Thrones lesson. So I got respect for anybody that gets to share those kinds of scenes with Emilia Clarke. Good on you, man. But Jason Momoa, he's a badass. Come on, that's who we can.
He's a charismatic guy. He's easy to like and be drawn to. So
because I had tried Aquaman, like he in the early 2000s when it was Butch something was doing the writing. Butch Geist something, whatever his name is. It was decent, but it never kept my interest. Jeff Johns, I came to the book because of Jeff Johns, but really, his book and the combination of his book and Jason Momoa being cast is what led me to Aquaman. Funny enough about Jason Momoa.
Okay.
Jackson Hyde. Does that not look more like Jason Momoa than even the Jason Momoa looking Aquaman in the Aquaman book that you read before?
Yeah, definitely. We'll say, yeah, he does. He does. Now, give me a little background on the aquatic.
Jackson Hyde?
No, not on Jackson Hyde. The characters that were surrounding him, that were basically putting him through the test.
It's an underwater kingdom. I don't think they said which one.
Okay.
It's one of the underwater kingdoms. They didn't say which one. I can't remember just by looking at them. So I can't give you a name, but I know they're visually they're reminiscent, and I think they are one of the underwater kingdoms, like in Aquaman. You know how there were different kingdoms in the movie?
Yes, right.
Like that kind of scenario there playing out. Now, what exactly they were after? It seems like they're after Andy or Aquawoman.
Mm-hmm.
I did like the flashbacks when he was telling the leader of that kingdom a story, and and they're showing the banter between Jackson and Andy, and the fact that he calls her Aqualass, and that pisses her off.
Right? Yeah, she doesn't like that at all.
She doesn't like that, and understandably, but I love the fact that they referenced that Jackson is the son of Black Manta, and I love that they're bringing that into the fold, they're carrying that over from the past Aquaman book, from the past storyline that was before Future State. So I like that that's carrying over. The conceit of this issue, in that Andy and Jackson find themselves traveling through the sea. That whole explanation of that, what was it called? The conference, what was it called?
The confluence, yeah.
The confluence.
Yeah, the confluence, yeah. And I do want to say before we go on, I like this idea that she's afraid of her powers because she doesn't just communicate with aquatic life; she controls them.
Oh, she's Like, this is a top tier. She's a top tier badass.
Yeah, and she's afraid. She's afraid of her own power. You can see that she's very apprehensive about that.
The only thing that was weird to me when I first read Justice League #1 and this was for the longest time, when I was reading her, she's a baby to a little girl, right?
Right.
And I'm looking at her and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, because she was in Endless Winter as a baby, wasn't that her? Yeah.
And before that, she's an Aquaman, and the most she said was, "Goo goo gaga." That was the extent. So I'm like, it's like, imagine now. I'll bring back the Olsen twins example. You see them as Michelle Tanner on Full House. Now Google them now.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, hello. I'm like, cannot compute. I cannot compute. So it was a little weird because when I see the art before Jackson said Andy, I'm looking at that and saying, oh, it's Mira.
Right.
But it's not.
No.
So it was a little jarring for somebody that's been a long-term reader and just for a year spent time with her as a baby.
Right.
Like I saw her being born, damn it. Now you really make me feel old.
Yeah, but no, I like this idea of the confluence.
I aged about 20 years in about a month. Thanks, DC. Real nice of you. Yeah, no, that idea that there's one ocean that connects different Earths.
Yeah. That was very inventive. I like that.
So I could swim to several of my multiverse wives.
There you go.
That's fantastic. I need to find this whole sheet. More in the summertime, because now it's too cold to go swimming. But
yeah.
And you know what George Costanza says about being in the pool and water.
I remember, yeah.
Not a good thing.
Right, yeah. We're not going to explain. We're going to keep it kid friendly, but yes.
Yeah, of course. Search Seinfeld if you want to know.
Search Seinfeld, yes. Okay.
But it's just a cool idea.
Yeah. And I like that kind of,
the water changes.
Yeah, the water changes, and you see that there are all these oceans that are united, and they're all different colors, and it's kind of like a cosmic ocean. I just really like that visual.
And there's that one animal there's one sea creature that protects the time.
Yeah.
Like that's, and that creature looks like it's something out of a horror movie.
Right. Yeah.
Like that creature is like the love child of Jaws, and the creature in the Meg.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was really cool. And I like how Jackson and Andy at one point are talking about how they've already been through on different Earths, helping people that need help, which was really cool. And they're having that whole conversation about multiverse travel, I guess you will. And Jackson says, "Oh, well, you can't be part of the. You didn't even get offered membership into the JLA unless you've been involved in something like this. Like, this is par for the course."
Right.
And Andy thinks he's joking, but really, if you've read Justice League for any length of time, at some point there's multiverse or time travel, and like it gets involved.
Of course, yeah.
So he's right. And then it transitions back to him in chains. And he's suddenly able to break free of it.
Well, and we should say that beast, that something happens there. I don't want to give away too much, but something happens there. It kind of paralyzes the two of them.
Yeah,
and their escape is very important to what happens in the last act.
Yeah. I mean, we won't tell you how, but it temporarily separates Jackson and Andy. Is the most spoiler-free way I can say it. But he's able to break free of his chains and his captivity at the mere presence of Andy seemingly connecting with him again. And he gets a message from her through the water, which is really cool.
Right. There's a pretty gruesome image there, though. I don't want to give it away. There's a pretty gruesome image near that, the end of that battle scene.
And the art is,
oh, yes.
What's his name? Daniel Semper. Is that how you... Daniel Semper, is that how you pronounce it?
Probably. I'd have to go back and look at, yeah.
But he's the artist that's going to be on Action Comics. And, as a Superman fan, it's like, inject that into my veins, please. I love this issue, Donnie. I mean, we haven't seen 2 yet. Maybe we'll reconvene and do 2 before Future State ends. At the end of the month here, we'll reconvene and do a quicker episode where we do 2. Or we talk about it on what we've been reading. Say, yeah, we'll do that. Next Comics Corner.
Mm-hmm.
Or next DC Comics Chronicles, in our What You've Been Reading section, we'll take some time to talk about issue 2 of this story. How's that?
Right. Sounds good to me.
So, but what would you rate this story? Unless there's anything else you want to add, but what would you rate?
I do, and I hope this is not too much of a spoiler, but at the end when Jackson is breaking out from his captors, that image that says Aquawoman lives in the water.
Yeah.
I just thought, oh, that's really cool. Like I said, I haven't read Aquaman as a solo title for a long time. This was very intriguing to me. So I would rate it, I'm going to say, writing 5, art 5. Really like this book too.
This is a 5 across the board.
Yeah.
Now to end off, I just want to say that currently, as of March and April and May's solicitations, there is no solo Aquaman book.
Okay.
Aquaman will, however, be appearing in Justice League, which we will be covering on this very show. However, DC, I implore you, Aquaman needs a book. He's at the height of his popularity right now. He's $1 billion. Listen, currently, folks, Warner Brothers, which is the parent company of DC, Warner Media, whatever you want to call yourselves now, AT&T, Warner Media, Warner Brothers, I don't care what you call yourselves now. Aquaman as a character is your only billion-dollar franchise.
That's a good point.
To me, it is asinine that he does not have a book. I suspect that'll change before Aquaman 2. Like you'd have to. I'm talking to you directly, Warner. You'd have to be really stupid if Aquaman 2 rolls around and there's no Aquaman book. I'm sorry.
No, I would agree.
You know, that is the epitome of stupidity. So, but why do we have to wait for Aquaman 2 is my question. Look, if you want to have Arthur Curry Aquaman in the Justice League book, fine and dandy. Here's an idea. Based off issue 1 of this book, Future State Aquaman, I want a book with Jackson, a Future State set book, continuing the adventures of Jackson and Andy.
Yeah. No, I think it's strange that they don't have a book, and I'm not convinced that's going to be a long-term thing, but we'll see.
Maybe that's in the like maybe they're waiting till issue 2 comes out to announce a Future State Aquaman related ongoing, because they're doing it with Red Hood. They're giving him a Future State set book, and for some characters, I think that's a genius idea. Like Wonder Woman, Yara Flor is getting a Wonder Girl book. So why can't Aquawoman and Jackson, Hyde as Aquaman get a Future State set book?
Yeah.
I don't think it's a long term without an Aquaman. I think, like I said, I think by the time Aquaman 2 rolls around, he'll get another book.
Yeah.
But why take him off the board of a solo book when he's at the height of his popularity? I don't get it.
No, I would agree, and like I said, I feel like maybe DC that they're playing that one kind of close to the chest.
I think so.
Yeah,
I hope so.
Yeah. Something else. By the way, is it Daniel Sampere?
Yeah, that's
Sampere, the artist. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, amazing! Oh, I can't wait to see the Superman stuff. Oh
yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
If Andy was real, she'd be on the. But no. Please, Warner Media, fix this. Don't go too long without an Aquaman book. Again, to me, he's your $1 billion franchise in film. Don't, and I get it. You're putting him in Justice League. Great, he should be there. But come on, let's get real now. Give him his own book. Stop being around the bush. Even me, the big Batman fan, is telling you. Put an Aquaman book, a solo Aquaman book again on the stand. Aquawoman, I don't care. I want to see more water adventures, damn it.
Yeah.
And that's my rant. It's going to get worse if come Aquaman 2 there's no Aquaman book, so I'll just be prepared. I'll start a hashtag. I'll get t-shirts printed, the whole 9 yards. You think you had trouble with the Snyder Cut? You just wait till there's no Aquaman book. I'm going to organize something, all right? We're going to swim to the towers of Warner Brothers and cause a ruckus. I won't be doing the swimming.
Swim through the confluence.
that's right, and I'll go through all the different Warner Brothers head offices and all the different Earths to get an Aquaman book. But seriously, get on that book.
Yeah,
but
I would agree.
So we're both fans. We hope you enjoy. I know this is a bigger episode, but it was the first.
Yes.
And it won't be the last because we're going to do this once a month. But yeah. So the plan is either once a month or twice a month, depending on which books, depending on when the books come out each month. Mm-hmm. If we can stretch it so that we can do this at the end of every month when we have all the books we want to cover out, we might do it that way, or we may structure it, do 2 episodes a month, where we do half the books on one episode, half the books on another episode.
We just hope you're entertained. We're here to provide, plenty of content for you.
We're here to provide you sort of our opinions on the books, why you should pick them up,
mm-hmm.
and to encourage you. So we're here giving a shout out and a discussion on the source material that inspires the media that we love to watch. And because without the books, there would be no shows, no movies on these characters. Without the books, they wouldn't exist. So we want to highlight the books and the good work that both DC is doing on this podcast and what Marvel's doing on the Marvel Masterverse podcast. So we will be back next month. But we want you to remember, actually, before I get to the sign-off, social media follow. If they want to talk DC Comics with you, Donnie. A lot of Green Lantern, I'm sure. But where can they do that?
You can find me on Twitter as the Emerald Enthusiast if you want to talk DC, if you want to talk Marvel, anything comic book related. Hit me up there and let's do so. Let's talk action figures. Let's talk comics. Let's talk TV and movies. Anything from that genre. Anything from that realm.
Yeah, and or you could tell Donnie which people you think are on my list, and you can pass them on to me. And if you're right, you might get a prize. I don't know what that prize is going to be yet, but we'll come up with something. But
you want to see action figure reviews? Hit me up on Twitter.
Yeah, he's good at those.
Well, thank you, sir.
Every time I see one, it's like, I want one of those. And then he says, but this one's hard to find. I'm like, well, I ain't paying $100 for this figure. I'm already in the hole because of my, well, not yet. They start taking money out next year, but for the Hot Toys Val Kilmer Batman figure.
Now you're talking money, yeah.
That's putting a hole in my wallet.
Like and subscribe to my YouTube channel where I do my reviews too. I do reviews on Twitter and YouTube. So
and maybe I'll hijack his YouTube channel when the Hot Toys Batman figure comes in and talk the Val Kilmer figure. But before I do that, and before I steal some of the stuff in his room, if you want to talk to me about any of that, you can do that at Adam_LeafFan on Twitter.
Fan.
Yeah. And the social media handle for this podcast is at MMNPDC. And then the Facebook group, Steven's going to have a link in the description. You can click on that. I'll add you to the group. We can continue the conversation there. But until next time, we want you to remember that DC Comics are forever. From the first company-wide relaunch to the last. So long, everybody.
So long, everybody.